Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we kick this off, I do want to point out that we welcome questions. So during today's discussion, if you have a question, please post it in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and we will get to those at the conclusion. So I'd now like to turn this over to Stephen Saltstein, Force Family Office's CEO.
Thank you, Kelly. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. We have a fascinating symposium for you. If you've ever known anyone that has had to do IVF, you know how expensive and debilitating it can be. And Boost absolutely has the next generation in the space, which is better, a lot less expensive, and just a much better process for the patient. So with that said, Dan, if you don't mind, tell us about yourself and your team.
Yeah, thanks for setting this up, Steve and Kelly, and pleased to be here to introduce Boost Fertility. So yeah, my background is primarily in software. I created the world's first enterprise HR system out in California a good 25 years ago with the two other guys who are joining me on the panel today. So we've got Patrick Welsh, who's a board member, as well as our chief revenue officer, as well as Dave Wisherath, who is our chief operating officer and a board member as well. And yeah, that was an exciting time in California. And ever since then, I had been looking for, a really exciting kind of blue sky opportunity, world's first. And with Boost, when Boost came along, it was just a perfect fit for me. And I thought, wow, this is exciting. We can help millions of people. We can make, a few billion for our investors, and we can have a lot of fun doing it. And yeah, so we'll get into the details a little bit later. Why don't I turn it over to Patrick Welsh, who was, as I mentioned, our chief revenue officer.
Sure. Patrick Welsh, based in the Philadelphia area. I'm the father of 7. And when Dan and I a few years ago had a conversation about changing the fertility industry to make it more accessible to families trying to have or start families, for couples to be able to do that, I wanted to know more. And the more I listened to what the vision was, the more passionate I became about bringing this product to market. I've helped companies have exits 11 times now. This is definitely part of our future, but something that we really want to do is be able to bring this device and this technology to very remote areas where it is not available today. And we want to try to solve this global problem of infertility. So thanks for joining us today.
Do me a favor, tell me about Dr. Vollmer. I mean, she's the one that kind of, had all these discoveries, did all the research, led this charge. What did she discover? And, how is it different than what is considered to be, standard knowledge today?
Well, let me start. Yeah, so Dr. Fulmer is my wife, Dr. Marion Fulmer. We've had 3 babies together, and but she's also one of the world leading experts in sperm swimming behavior. And that's when I first met her. She was working on a project at the University of Toronto for the clinics to do assisted reproduction, and they discovered that the strongest sperm like to swim along walls and corners. And by strongest sperm, we means the one that will create the healthiest babies, that will reduce miscarriages. And this was 14 years ago, and I said, "Wow, that's exciting. That's great. I want to get involved. Can we maybe sell this in the drugstores to do an affordable infertility treatment?" So here we are, 14 years later. We've got it. We're about 6 months away from the market. And Patrick, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I refer to her as Dan's boss. The research papers from 2014, 2016. I go back to my pre-med days, and as I read those, I realized that she is an expert and she understands what's going on in sperm swimming behavior. This device reflects that. So we've been through.
So what did she learn? What did her research show? And how did that lead to Boost?
Yeah, so it's the way the sperm swim, the behavior of sperm, and the ability to then capitalize on that and get the best, strongest, essentially to the top. That's what this device does.
And when I think about disruptive technologies, and this is definitely one, I mean, I don't know, the average price of IVF, I think, is like $50,000. And you guys could do this for kind of 1/5 that cost. how did this become a disruptive technology?
Yeah, so Dan and I go back and forth between disruptive and revolutionary, right?
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah, disruptive in 500 clinics in the United States. We'll just use that as an example. Changing something that's been around for 50 years, 500 clinics, not disruptive, right? Revolutionary is being able to, get into the desert, the fertility deserts, and be able to have nurse practitioners and others perform the procedure to bring in fertility treatment to millions of people. So we're going to completely change the paradigm to make it more available and more accessible, not single digit percentages, but up into the 80-90% will have access to this. That's the game changer.
And so let's talk about the differences between this and IVF, both for obviously for the consumer, the patient, but for the doctor as well, and the healthcare system.
Well, number one would be, as you hinted at, Steve, is the price. Yeah, the biggest study ever comparing IUI, which is what our device enables, stated just a couple of years ago that on average, IVF takes $50,000 more to get to the live birth of a baby than IUI. And IUI is also safer. It's non-invasive. It's completely natural. And that's sort of the second thing for the women. It's a brutal journey of IVF. It's injections, 2 minor surgeries, embryos being moved around. It's just, I mean, 50 years ago was fantastic. They wanted to cure childlessness. Today, not so much. I mean, for 1, 2, 3% of the couples, it's the only way to go. For the other 97%, they're out of luck. So the Dr. Mary Jo Montanarella, she's a renowned United States US OBGYN, she has said it's 100 times less invasive. And I always had thought that, but the minute that she said that, I was like, we added that to our kind of tagline of our value proposition, because it really is for the women. It's so much less invasive to do IUI. It's a 5-minute procedure that can be done in a doctor's office. So,
and you guys
Yeah,
kind of have a two-step business model. Your discussions with the FDA. First step is to have medical professionals do it, but by 2027, you're going to be an at-home solution.
yeah, as I said, 14 years ago, I said, let's sell in the drugstores real cheap. And, we went to the FDA with that 2 years ago, and they said, let's take it out to the doctors first. So we switched to our predicate submission to the FDA, said, we're going to go through the doctors. And they were absolutely right. Get some data, have the doctors administer the IUI. So that's 2026 for us. Once we establish that, we're going into the home in 2027. We can get some additional, FDA clearance for the home product, but it's not too difficult. It's step by step so that we build up to it.
Yeah, and Steve, you had mentioned something about how does it change for a clinician, or someone in the clinic. The process they typically go through, even for IUI today, usually involves heat, centrifugation, and, special technical skills. So if there's, delivering or assisting in 3 offices, they have to have 3 times that expensive equipment, those expensive specialized resources. What we're offering is something that would replace that with something that is less risky, so less introduction of human error, and something that they can do in all of those offices. So they can offer this using nurse practitioners and others to provide this to their patients.
And so what does it mean for the ROI of the doctor? How does that translate?
Yeah, so it's not something where they're going to charge less for the procedure. They're going to be able to do more procedures. So they'll be able to make it more available to their patients, as opposed to just go to this one office, right, or incur the cost of 3 times the hardware, heating that specimen, and then having those special technical resources. This becomes more widely available, and we believe it reduces the error or the ability to have error in the process.
So what's actually inside the device? Well, I mean, one of the things you guys are saying is that it has a healthier sperm, better outcome. So yeah, how is that made to come to fruition based on a better device?
Well, we generally need an NDA to show you exactly what's inside there, but generally speaking, it's walls, boundaries, channels that the strongest sperm love to swim along. So the way it works is really you inject the raw semen in here. That's the inlet. You let it swim up through the maze of obstacles and walls and channels inside here. This is what Marion spent 2, 3 years developing. This is the 13th iteration of what's inside so that an hour later the strongest sperm come to the top because we know the strongest sperm swim along the walls and the corners. So,
Right. One thing you said to me, sperm swim to the left.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
why is that?
we don't know. That's Marion also discovered that. It's more for cocktail parties, a fun little fact you can share. Strongest sperm swim to the left. Who knows why?
And so let's get into the commercialization journey. So how long until you get FDA approval? And then talk to me about actually taking it to market.
So we're about 4 to 6 months away from FDA approval. They've approved our predicate. We've got Proxima CRO out of Houston, Texas, kind of chaperoning us through the process. And our model is very simple. We're going to make about 200, 250 per device. We want our doctors to make 400 or 500 per device, and we want them to do 10 a day. So they're looking at 5,000 in revenue per day, seven figures for about half an hour of work. That's the thing. I mean, the IVF takes hours and hours and hours. With this device, it's half an hour of work and it's only 5 minutes for the doctor. So that's why, our real value prop is scale, scale, scale. We want all our doctors to do at least 10 or 20. So we're lining up some earliest adopters, 5 or 10 clinics and sperm banks, and people are excited to test it over the next 2 or 3 months until we get approval. Once we get approval, then we'll go to our early adopters. We've got 5 or 10, sort of starting to line up for that as well. The minute the FDA says go ahead, we'll start doing Boost IUI insemination by the doctors once they clear our device. And from that, we're going to really focus on our core doctors to begin with. We want to make sure that they're very successful. And from there, we'll start to scale and grow. But we don't want to grow too quickly. This year is all about earliest adopters and making sure that they're, helping to make babies fundamentally.
Yep. And Steve,
And so what's the difference in TAM between the initial commercialization trajectory using the doctors and nurse practitioners and then the at-home?
Well, the total addressable market, I mean, globally is about, 20, 25% of the population. 1 in 4, 1 in 5, we think are infertile. But sorry, I didn't quite understand your question, Steve.
Well, the first step, the 2026 FDA approval that you're hoping to get is really for, let's just say, I don't know, let's say you get out, as you said, to about 500 doctors, clinics, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But then the 2027 is people can actually do this on their own at home.
Yeah, I mean, there's a significant increase once we go into the homes, but we're really focused on 2026 and the doctors. The key for 2026 for me is there's 50,000 approximately OBGYNs who can do IUI in America. That doesn't scale. There's 1 million nurse practitioners, family practitioners, and other types of doctors who could, in rural Wyoming, can do it right there in their office. It's so simple. So that's really our focus in 2026. Once we go into the home, I mean, yeah, it should double or triple the market because we just have the healthcare practitioners visit them for half an hour and deliver the procedure right there. We really think that's the future. Yeah.
So can you help people understand the term fertility desert? And then also, can we talk about the global marketplace?
Yeah. Patrick, did you want to take that one or you want me to?
Yeah, I was going to say there's 500 clinics doing IVF. There's thousands of doctors' offices, as Dan just mentioned, somewhere in the 40,000 range. And if the doctor does the procedure, that's 40,000 times 10 a day, and that's your addressable market. What we're suggesting and what we're perfecting is the ability to run this procedure through nurse practitioners and other healthcare professionals, which would allow you to scale much, much greater. And without the need for specialty equipment, specialty technicians, this can dramatically increase the number of people that can be treated. So that's the first piece. The second piece around deserts, Dan mentioned it, rural areas, right? And other countries. Look at India, look at South Korea. You've got nations dealing with this as
Japan's always, they're
absolutely.
always cognizant of their declining population.
Yep. They put it under existential threat to the nation, right? So this is why we have countries coming to us now saying we want to invest six figures and we want to help you get this research done faster. So we're waiting for the FDA to give approval, but there's other countries we're speaking to now which recognize this as a problem and see this as a viable treatment.
What about, it's a priority for the current administration. Have you spoken with them about it? Any legislators, et cetera? Where are they at?
We're starting down that road. The FDA approval has to take place, so we don't want to jump ahead of it. But yes, the administration recognizes this is an issue. IVF is the mind share. It's the first thing that comes to people's minds. But at $50,000 per, that's not something as a country that scales well. Most doctors know that this is a first try anyway, so IUI will be their first treatment course. What we're suggesting is this is a better way to do it, where we can have nurse practitioners be part of this process so we can make it available to more people.
And can you just talk about the patient journey and how this might be easier on them?
You want to take that?
Sorry, go ahead, Patrick. You got it.
No, I was going to let you go. I have some personal experience myself, but I was going to let you go first.
Okay, yeah, it's for the IVF couples. There was an article recently in the Wall Street Journal that was shared that some couples go 4 or 5 years and they blow 100,000, 150,000 with IVF. They'll do whatever it takes because they have hope to have a child. And I think some clinics, some doctors may take advantage of that, and they'll go more again and again and again. So it's rough, and the surgeries, the injections. It's especially rough on the women, and it doesn't need to be. That's the thing. For a good 90%, IUI is generally recognized as the global standard first line of care, but not universally. And our goal is to make it universally, because it's really the patient journey for this becomes very simple. They have intercourse at home. They produce a semen sample, take that into the office, and then it takes 10 to 15 minutes for the doctor to inseminate. So it's really, end to end, it's about a 2-hour process as opposed to a 2-month process. So, which is why it costs 10 times less. It's completely different re-envisioning of the whole way this disease is treated.
Well, and what about insurance? Where does that all fit in, or doesn't it?
We're trying to make it not fit in. That's a bit of the problem. If you work for Google or Microsoft, you're covered and you can spend 20,000 per round with IVF, but that leaves out 90 to 95% of Americans. So our idea is, if you can only pay cash, that's fine. We want to keep it under 1,000. So our thing from day one is less than 1,000. So you can go 5, 6 rounds, which is generally the global standard. So for about 5,000. So we're going to drop the price to get to a baby, or to, by at least 10x. And the most interesting fact, I think most people don't know, we only learned it recently. If you go 12 rounds, which would take 6 months, you're looking at about 10,000. But that's still better than that couple I mentioned that's paying 200,000 over 2 years. It's a completely different scale.
Sure.
In terms of cost.
Sure. Gotcha. Okay, great. All right, look, there's a bunch of audience questions. So Callie, I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, great. So which patient segments benefit most from your solution, and which should still be directed to transitional IVF?
Well, it's about half. There's certain conditions for the women, certain conditions for the men. Our primary target group is unexplained infertility, because that's the most frustrating of it all. They don't know if it's the man, they don't know if it's the woman. It's very difficult. And the couples, they start blaming each other. They're desperate to have a child. They can't afford 10 or 15,000. So, but yeah, we can address about 50 to 55% of anyone suffering from infertility. For 5% of them, IVF is the only way to go.
And I would
Great.
just add that there is testing available for sperm so that we can identify who that group is.
Great. And how strong is your IP position? How difficult would it be for a large fertility clinic chain or med tech company to replicate your approach?
Well, my background's in as a technical writer. IP and two of the unicorns I worked for before were largely sold based on a lot of the IP that I created. So that's one of my areas of expertise. We got a massive portfolio of patents and copyrights. We just got our second patent in the US. We filed an initial patent a year ago on the device itself, which is why I don't talk about what's going on inside there. We've got an updated patent. And then we just written a book, so we've got a lot of written, copyrighted material. So I think it would be we've got a large mode, and we're continuing to expand that. We've got two new patents related to sort of the method of, in particular, in the home that we're registering next year as well. So.
Um, and then which geographies represent the most attractive early expansion opportunities, and how do cultural or regulatory differences affect adoption?
Well, after America, I guess we're talking. Um, Sorry, Patrick, did you want to take that one? I didn't.
Yeah, you have India, you have South Korea, who within 70 years their projections are pretty horrific. Japan, Steve mentioned that one as well. India, you've got Africa, you've got a number of nations right now that have this as a top priority, and they are the ones that are on our short list to go to first. But we have others who are stepping forward across Europe, very conservative nations, to touch on your point. They see this as a more natural way to solve the infertility problem. So much so that they're investing in us. They're giving us grant money to help bring this innovation and other innovations to get to the home faster.
Great. Thank you. And then what clinical data do you have or expect to have to validate success rates and patient outcomes?
Well, with our FDA clearance, because it's not approval, it's a 510(k). So we only have to match the testing data of our predicate device. So we've got to do about 12, 13 tests to get through the FDA for a sperm separation device, the Pleiades device. But clinical data is not actually needed because you can predict. IUI is not new. We didn't invent it. We just invented a better way to do IUI with our device. So there's historical data on IUI pregnancy success rates going back 25 years. So we know that if you've got 10 million sperm at the top of our device, you've got about a 15% chance of having a baby per round of treatment. So.
And then what are the remaining technical or regulatory milestones before commercial launch? And is there anything that could realistically delay that?
Well, the FDA is a little bit unpredictable. It's not out of the question. They might ask for a few more tests. I mean, it's a class 2 device, so there's minimal risk compared to a class 3. So we expect to get through pretty quickly, but you never know. I mean, they may ask for more tests. We'll see.
And in 7 to 10 years, what does success look like? An independent global fertility platform, an acquisition by a strategic player, or something else? Who would be the most likely acquirers?
Good question. 7 to 10 years from now, we hope to, as I said, redefine the way this disease is treated. We don't think too much, or I don't think too much about acquirers, because if we do our job properly, if we help the patients get their babies and help the doctors, then the acquirers will come to us. But yeah, we would like to get bought out at some point down the road by a company who will fully execute the vision on a global scale. But beyond that, I know, Patrick, what do you think about that?
Yeah, there's still more innovation to come as well, right? So when you get into the home using telemedicine and the ability for a doctor to be part of that process to make it even more natural and stay in the home, those are the innovations that we're working on now to make that even a greater outcome, right? So we understand right now where we are with clinicians. It's great. but being able to get into the home is going to 100 times this opportunity. So there's some innovations in that space specifically, being able to do that remotely through telemedicine, that innovation will be part of our future as well.
Great.
So we're trying to get to the market, Callie, not trying to exit out of the market yet.
Yeah, I think, yeah. And then can you discuss the raise and the use of proceeds? How much capital is needed to reach cash flow break even?
We're doing a bridge to Series B right now. We're looking to raise 12 to 15 million. We've raised 3 million to date, but now that we're so close to the market, we're really stepping it up a whole other notch. And Patrick, I mean, use of funds.
Yeah, I like to
details.
say that we've rented the expertise up until this point. So we mentioned Proxima, we've got Aerotech and others that are helping us with design, manufacturing, to get to tens of thousands of units. We see in the future getting to hundreds and then millions of units. So we will need, supply chain in the US, right, to make it more resilient. We're not dealing with tariffs, those types of things. So the use of funds would be to scale up supply chain, to also do some work with academia, post-approval studies, these types of things from a marketing perspective, be used for regulatory as well. So now we will go and own those resources. So we'll be hiring people on the marketing side. And as we innovate, we're going to need more, medical information, nurse practitioners ourselves to be able to support what we're putting into the market.
Great. Well, thank you very much. This was a fantastic dialogue, and I want to thank the audience for attending and for the great questions. Before we close out, I do want to point out to the audience, if you have additional questions or want to be connected, please reach out to me. In turn, they will have all of your information as well. And Daniel and Patrick, I'd like to turn it back over to you for final words before we close.
Yeah, I mean, to wrap up, I would say, we didn't touch too much on the personal side. Patrick did. He's got 7 kids. I've got 3 kids. But for us, I mean, the company and the brand is all about hope. I mean, I was pretty hopeless up until I met Marion 15 years ago. We had 3 babies together, and now we've devoted our lives in this business to helping other people have babies and raise babies and get them out into the world. And I think Patrick would probably agree with that. He's got 4 more than I do, so we're pretty in sync on that.
We've seen both sides of it, right? So, we talk to people all the time. We hear these stories. When people struggle with fertility, it weighs on marriages. It really stresses couples. To be on the other side of that and actually solving this problem, creating that hope to help them create a family, is some of the most meaningful work you can do. And we look forward to having conversations with people who want to join that journey with us.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day.